Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the second last day of classes. Right now, you are an experienced persuasive writer. You know how to write satire, you know how to write editorials, you know how to write Kijiji ads, be able to sell all your old stuff now, make lots of money. And so that mode has been covered. And a lot of these things that you've been doing in the last couple of days, I'm going to publish for you today the assignment sheet for the unit, which really isn't an assignment sheet. It's going to be a series of things that you're going to hand in. You're going to give me a polished copy of your satire and of your editorial and your annotated bibliography, and of course the debate. So today's lesson, I'm going to talk a little bit about the debate and how to prepare for a debate, how to make sure that you're ready for the 10 minutes or so that we're going to spend together arguing this whatever issue you've chosen. So the first thing that you want to do when you're preparing for a debate is to make sure that you are well informed on your issue. I want to bring up that anecdote about the pair of guys who got outright owned in a debate. And for those of you who go to ADHS, Mr. Dag was a teacher, and he said that it was unreal that this pair of girls who were arguing that we should have torture had such a one-sided victory. It just goes to show that it doesn't matter what your topic is. If you're not prepared, if you're not informed on your topic, you're going to get beat really badly. So you're going to want to make sure that you are very well specifically informed on both sides of your issue. Doing that is going to make sure that you don't get blindsided by anything, that you're not going to get surprised by anything, and that you're not going to say anything in the debate that is not true, because that's a really big thing in debates. There's not a whole lot of room for error. As soon as you make any kind of error in a debate, you open yourself up for counterattacks. I'm going to get to that when we get to arguments and rebuttals. So make sure that you are informed. That's the first thing. Then the other really kind of blanket thing you can do is you can become more comfortable using rhetorical devices and having a big repertoire. Your rhetorical devices are kind of like your weapons in a debate. They're things that you can use at any time to increase the persuasiveness of your speech. So for example, if I wanted to, the very topic of rhetorical devices, if I wanted to explain the importance of those, I could do so using an analogy. Analogies are used to take complicated ideas and make them more simple and easy for the audience to understand. So rhetorical devices are like karate. Okay? Karate is a martial art that you can use to defend yourself. And if you study karate and you learn a variety of techniques, it doesn't matter what danger comes your way. It could be one person with a knife, or it could be a whole gang of people. You're going to have techniques that you can use to defend yourself. Well, the same thing goes with rhetoric. It doesn't matter what your opponent comes at you with if you've got a variety of techniques that you can use, like Socratic irony and hyperbole and appeal to authority and appeal to emotion and, of course, analogies. If you've got those techniques at your disposal, you'll be able to fend off any attack that your opponent sends your way. So there you go, the use of an analogy. Make sure that you go over the list of rhetorical devices and that you're comfortable with those, that you've used them. You should be using those in your writing anyway, especially your editorial writing. You're going to want to use your rhetorical devices to increase the persuasiveness of your writing. But definitely you want to be able to be comfortable enough with those devices that you can use them on the fly, which means you don't have to write them out ahead of time. You could just think up an analogy on the spot, or you could just use Socratic irony. So let me give you an example that I've kind of prepared. So if I'm going to be arguing a really unpopular position, like for example, that we should bring back physical punishments in schools, right? Specifically, caning is the one I'm going to use. I lived in Singapore for 4 years. Singapore is notorious for caning. The cane is a 1-20 centimeter long stick, and you inflict a caning by having a person bend over. They drop their drawers, and they use this in schools. The principal or whoever the teacher might be, whoever is delivering it, they lash them with this big stick. If my opponent was to make an argument that caning is barbaric, that it's a barbaric practice, then, and that it would damage students and damage their self-esteem and damage their minds and their potential and whatnot, then I might fire back off the cuff with some Socratic irony, which is where you take the other side. It's like satire. You pretty much satirize the other side of the argument. You poke fun, you poke light you make light of the other side. So I might fire back with, you know what? I think that my opponent is right. I think that we should definitely not have any physical consequences in schools. In fact, I think we should get rid of all consequences in schools, because it would stand to reason that if physical consequences are a bad thing, then all consequences must be bad things. I mean, don't all consequences prevent students from doing what they want to do? And if standing in the way of their potential is a bad thing, then it just stands to reason that we should just have no rules. Having Socratic irony, having analogies, hyperbole, all these different devices that you can use in your repertoire will help you during the rebuttal part of your debate. So let's get into what the debate is going to actually kind of look like. Like all debates, there's going to be exchanges where somebody's going to make an argument and then they're going to have to defend that argument, because that's really the essence of debate. I present ideas, and those ideas are strong enough that I can defend them. And if they're not strong enough, if they get shot down, then they must not have been good ideas. So I've got an argument that I would present here. My argument, I've used logical structures, which I've posted notes on those. I don't want to spend a lot of time explaining those here because there's so many different types of structures and there's different variations. I've posted them. I think they're very clear. And hopefully you are already familiar with some of this. Hopefully. If you're not, just get in touch with me and I can explain logical patterns. But basically, the way it works is like a state quote explain pattern in your writing. If you follow the syllogism pattern, like all A are B, no B's are C, therefore no A's are C's, that's going to be right 100% of the time. Just like if you use an if A is true, then B is true, and if B is true, then C is true, and if C is true, then D is true, and then you prove that A is true, well, therefore D must also be true. So all canings are painful experiences. No painful experiences are easy to forget. Therefore, no canings are easy to forget. And I think that that would be true. So then I'm going to go into an if-then argument, and I'm going to say, you know, if students forget the consequences of their actions, then they're likely to reoffend. And if students are likely to reoffend, then they are deficient in character. A person with good character shouldn't want to offend society. They should be the type of person who does things that are good for the sake of doing those good things, not somebody who offends those around them. So not caning children, as I've proven, will cause them to forget the consequences of their actions. Therefore, not caning children is actually turning those children into people with deficient character. So I've used logical reasoning here in order to present an argument that should be strong. Now, as my opponent, your job is to listen carefully and present a rebuttal of some sort. So you want to pick apart my argument in some way. There is a fallacy in my argument. I don't know if you can see it here. Look at my if-then argument. Do you see a problem with my reasoning here? I've said that not caning the children will cause them to forget the consequences of their actions. I've proven up here in my syllogism, all A's are B's, no B's or C's, therefore no A's or C's. I've proven that no canings are easy to forget, but I have not proven that canings are the only punishment that are going to cause a student to not forget the consequences of their actions. So what I have here is called a non sequitur. My argument doesn't naturally, like one line doesn't naturally follow the next. There is a breakdown in the argument itself. So as I've got a list of logical fallacies for you. There's not many. There's actually quite a few. If you wanted to study philosophy, there's quite a few. But I've listed, I think, just 3 of the key ones. You want to listen to your opponent and you want to find some flaw that you can key in on. And then you want to exploit it. Because the idea is, if one part of my argument isn't exactly true, the whole thing comes into question. Even one small piece of it will cause the whole thing to fall apart. It's very much like a house of cards. You have to carefully place each line of your deductive reasoning and make sure that they're positioned correctly, or else one puff of wind could cause the whole thing to fall flat. There's another analogy for you. Okay. Just last thing that I would use in here, or that I'd like to bring to your attention, is getting back to really knowing your topic. There's so much that you can use in order to fire arguments or to fire rebuttals at your opponent. There's so much you can do if you know your topic really, really well. So if I wanted to cite statistics, I've looked up some stats, and I found that Singapore ranks 2nd in the world out of 191 countries in math, reading, and science. Okay? Now, as my opponent, you're going to want to rebut that. So you might call those stats into question. You might want to know what the source is. And if I can't provide the source, or if you find the source isn't exactly reliable, then you call my argument into question. Okay, so that was what I said at the outset of this video about becoming informed. So preparing for your debate is about getting really informed on your topic. It's about training with your intellectual karate, which is the art of rhetoric, preparing solid arguments that use logic, and also anticipating what the opponent's arguments might be and kind of planning rebuttals. You don't want to start writing out, every possible rebuttal to every possible argument, because there's just not enough hours in the day. But if you think about it, that is great training. Okay, and even if you wanted to, there's a step that I've suggested where you'd even spar with somebody else. Get somebody to take the role of opponent, have them fire some arguments at you, and see what you can do to shoot those arguments down. Okay, so today's lesson is about preparing for the debate. You're going to be learning about persuasive speaking. You're going to be learning about logical arguments and logical fallacies and creating rebuttals and all those parts of the debate. And of course, you're going to be starting to build arguments in preparation for the debate that we are going to have starting on Friday. All right. So on that note, I'm going to be posting, like I said, the assignment sheet and rubric for the units, so you'll be able to see everything you're being marked on, and like how to earn the marks, obviously. But also, there's on the discussion forum, there's going to be a place for you to sign up for a time for the phone call. So I'm going to have probably every 15 minutes would be a time. And maybe every 20 minutes. I'd probably do about 3, I think, in an hour to do them well. So you would sign up for a time, and then you're going to have to give me a phone number that I can call, and I will phone you because I have unlimited long distance, so it doesn't matter where you live. And I'll phone you, and we will have the debate, and you'll be prepared, and you will totally stand your ground against me no matter how I attack you.